It was raining the way it always rained in Curitiba, washing away the cheap plaster of dusk and filling the gutters with the bitter smell of old roots and petrol. I stood outside the gallery, the umbrella a useless shield against the spray and my own embarrassment. The yellow light from inside caught the drizzle on my cheeks. Maybe it hid the tears, maybe it didn't. I was shivering, but not because I was cold. Inside, a crowd pressed around little islands of paintings and video screens. I could glimpse the back of the curator, Marcio, with his careful hair and that upturned nose, trying to look away as I loitered. I'd come hoping for at least a small chance, the way you come to a lottery stand pretending not to care if you win. But when my turn came, when I pressed my pitch into his palm and told him about my idea, my dream, he grimaced as if I'd offered him moldy bread. Sound installations, he pinched the bridge of his nose. Not here. This is a gallery, Mila. People come to look, maybe try bar 23 or your laptop at home. He said the last with a gentle smirk, and the other artists, faces I recognized from childhood, from church, from neighborhood birthdays, snickered. It wasn't new, I'd been hearing the same since I started. My mother, why not a real job, daughter? My uncle, nobody but weirdos makes money from noises. Try radio, try cleaning. Marry well, at least. Even friends, careful with their words but not their eyes, offered their skepticism like lukewarm soup. I left the gallery before they could see me cry. The rain pressed in around my ankles as I walked, and I could have gone home, could have washed the whole thing down with cheap vodka and Netflix scraps. Instead, I veered into Praça Osório, sat on a bench, and let the city speak. Curitiba in the rain is a chorus, the hiss of tires against wet stone, the drop pattering on recycling bins, the clang of tram cables. Every sound carried meaning, stories, the architecture alive with its own language. I closed my eyes, listening, trying to melt the shame with each breath. When I opened them again, the empty paper of my rejection letter had curled in my hand. I studied the smeared ink as the city's noises wove around me. How could they not hear it? How could I stop chasing what was so alive in me? I wish I could say that was the night I changed, that something clicked, and I walked home inspired. But mostly I just slept a lot and ran errands for my parents. I fell into silence, the rejection blooming inside me like a mold. If shame was an instrument, I played it well, ghosting events, biting my tongue in every family gathering. Everyone pretended not to notice how bone-thin I'd become, how I'd stopped wearing my headphones outside. I rented a corner of my childhood bedroom, the one with the peeling wallpaper and the posters from when I still let people in. My mother watched me over the rim of her glasses, marking time with deep sighs. Grandfather fiddled with old radio parts at the kitchen table, pretending, maybe even believing, he wasn't disappointed. But some nights the city's noise seduced me back. I started carrying my recorder again, padding down Rua XV after midnight, collecting tram bells and bar laughter, shutters rolling down shop fronts, the soft hush of lovers arguing in half-light. It was easier to love them in fragments, to collect instead of communicate. I sent pieces to competitions, nothing, submitted to online showcases, nothing, weeks bled into months. I worked stocking shelves at Mercado Municipal, breathed in pepper and oranges and snuck headphones between bags of flour. Customers eyed me like a cat in the bread aisle. Always I heard the echo, ridiculous. One morning I returned to my inbox blinking with a single message. German, the organizer of a small sound design contest in Berlin. My piece, constructed from downtown bus brakes and my grandmother's lullabies with the whispers of rain gutters, had been shortlisted. Not even a win, just a mention. Still, it was fuel. I sent more pieces everywhere, stitched together from Curitiba's breath. The winter wind under viaducts, the public piano in the park, the barkers at Lago de Ordem. I lost track of the rejections, but something stubborn unfurled each time. I freelanced for podcasts out of São Paulo, mixed radio ads for a tired advertising exec in Rio. The money trickled in, enough to leave my mother's house for a faded apartment above an auto shop. Every morning I woke to the shuddering exhale of engines, the mechanics thrum below, and it became percussion, became foundation. Years passed. Rain came and went. I taught workshops online, then at the university, barely noticed as a root working its way through cement. The city changed around me. Skinny boys grew into men, women into mothers, into elders. I grew quieter but sharper too, my focus carving away the bitterness. Every new project, every stage light or studio commission was a way of mapping where I'd traveled inside myself. With time, things shifted. My sound pieces began turning up in unexpected places. an indie-punk short film, a TV documentary, then an exhibition, not in Curitiba but São Paulo's Pinacoteca, a wild, fluting installation using my recordings. The curator emailed in a rush, "When can you perform live?" I stood there, fingers vibrating over the keyboard. It felt dangerous to step through that open door, but I did. The performance was a blur of nerves and light. My palms sweated as I layered tram bells with sampled rain and my voice warped into liquid shapes. The audience was silent, then cheering, journalists jostling me for quotes. After, I stood in the darkened toilet stall and wept, knees shaking against the porcelain, because there was nobody I could call who would understand what this meant. But the work grew sharper with every new piece. Contracts filled my calendar, film directors, ad agencies, museums wanting sound to drape their empty spaces. My name wound through trade magazines, then proper media. The old skepticism became distant, like a song you remember hearing in a childhood cab ride. I met people who understood, who lived in the same invisible world of vibration and echo. I found community far from home. Still, the letters from my mother came every month, short, nervous misspellings betraying more than the words. "Hope you are eating well, Mercury rising again, your grandmother coughs at night, we are proud here but the neighbors have questions. Your cousin got a job at the hospital, maybe visit on your birthday." I didn't answer, not then. The wound at the back of my heart pulsed every time my old nickname, Mila dos Ruidos, surfaced on an email subject line or in a sideways comment online. Success was a smooth stone, easy to hide behind, until the festival Curitiba's own biennial. Curator, Marcio's successor, a bold young woman who'd heard my Pinacoteca show and begged for an installation in the old cathedral's crypt. I paused when the offer came, keyboard hovering over no. Did they even care, or was it just a trend? But the ache to return, the need to have them see, it crowned over every old hesitation. I wanted them to listen. I wanted them to know I'd found a language. I worked through the winter, piecing together hundreds of hours of city sounds, drumming hailstorms, protest chants on icy streets, the ancient groan of the cathedral's bell. I interviewed grandmothers remembering the dictatorship, schoolchildren tapping pencils, bus drivers singing to themselves. Layered these fragments, weft and warp, until the result vibrated with something both rooted and restless. I called it Ritorno, return. Opening night came on a tide of nerves. The crypt's stone corridor was cold, candles flickered, and a line shivered down the steps, curators, students, neighborhood faces I'd never wanted to see again. At the back, my mother and grandmother clutching their coats, my uncle with his fake gold watch, faces from the gallery that first night, cheeks a little sagged, hair grayer but unmistakable. The usher dimmed the lights. I pressed play from the control booth. The air thickened, city noises spun around us. The clang of tram lines, distant and nostalgic, rain on supermarket awnings, my grandmother's humming. I saw her blink, startled, then grasped my mother's hand. Kids giggled at their own shouts, tapped feet against the ancient floor. Every rustle, every sigh became part of the music, and threaded through, voices, neighbors remembered in snatches, scolding or laughing, sounded together the city's tapestry. I caught Marcio's profile, rigid in the candlelight, jaw tight. My uncle folded his arms, looking around for cues on how to react, then abruptly silence, followed by a swelling, slow-breathing storm. My own voice reciting the first words I'd ever recorded as a child, perched on the church steps, half laughing, half weeping for a city that might someday listen. When the piece faded, there was true silence, a heavy, uncertain pause. I saw tears on my grandmother's cheeks, not hidden by rain or pride. My uncle's face had loosened, jaw slack with something like awe. Marcio, the old curator, glanced at me, and the laughter lines around his mouth twisted. Tap, 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 applause started, uncertain, then catching, rippling around the crypt's curve until I was swamped in it. Later, outside, the crowd spilled onto the steps. People I hadn't spoken to in years crowded my circle, pressed me with questions, technical, practical, breathless. Someone asked for a selfie, another pressed my hand, eyes shining with gratitude. My mother reached for me, uncertain, and then she hugged me, clumsy, wrinkling my coat in her grip. "I heard you, Phil her," she whispered. "All this time I didn't know what you meant, now I do." Grandmother just gripped my wrist, squeezed with the force of years unsaid. My uncle slid beside me, clearing his throat. "You did good, Mila. Really good." Past them, Marcio approached. He waited for a break in the crowd, wiping raindrops from his brow, his confidence trembling. "I was wrong, Mila. Your dream, I just wasn't the right audience. We're lucky you didn't give up." The look in his eyes was part apology, part humility, a recognition I hadn't thought I'd ever see. I nodded, the bitterness draining in the rain. It wasn't triumph or vindication. Just relief. The end of a wait carried too long. As dusk fell, the crowd thinned, the city settling again. I stepped away, headphones slung around my neck now, the night's wet chorus rising around me. The cathedral's bell marked time, and behind it laughter faded, boots in puddles, the bus sighing to a halt at the corner. I closed my eyes, listening, feeling everything settle into place. The city's noise was still there, the same rain, the same pulse, but it sounded different now, softer maybe, or just truer. I thought of the years spent fighting for this moment, breath caught between hope and loss, and I breathed out, the ache unwinding at last. I turned towards home, steps echoing on slick stone. The rain felt cool against my face, but I wasn't shivering anymore. Every sound around me was proof, undeniable as the stone beneath my feet, that I had found a way through. I belonged here and I was finally heard.